Hi guys, in this tutorial I'm going to show you how I made these little pixel art style bushes from a single leaf image in Photoshop. So I'm just going to jump over to Photoshop and make a new document. 600 by 600 pixels, a good size for this kind of brush stamp. Now these brush stamps use primary colours of light, so RGB, and what I like to do is make a black background, so just Control I to invert the colour. And I'm going to make a new solid colour, and what I want to do is start with pure blue, so I'll move this to blue and make sure I've got 00255 or this hex code. Okay, once you've done that, just click on the mask and do Control I, and that means none of that blue is going to get through until you paint white inside this mask with it selected. So I'm going to go ahead and just paint a kind of leafy outline shape. Now I did one earlier, but I'll make a different one. So make sure you're painting in white. Okay, make sure you're painting in white, and something's not quite right here. Let's try that again. Oh yeah, it's there, it's just really faint. Right, so quite a good bit of opacity there, and make a kind of, just undo, there's still a mark there, make a kind of shape, so you can see it comes through as blue. Even though you're painting with white, you're painting white into the mask and it's allowing this colour through. So we're painting pure blue because that helps the shader thing to work the way it's supposed to. I'm just making a kind of, I don't know, leaf sort of shape here. Like that. So this is kind of like the main vein. See, I've got a tiny bit of smoothing on to help control the pen weight and the direction and stuff. So now that that's done, I just want to like create another solid layer, make it pure red. So this is the way I like to work, is blue, then red, then green. So that is going to be 25500, and I'm going to put that under there just so that this acts as the outline. I'm going to invert the mask, so click on the mask and then Control I, and then I just want to paint in here. I'm just going to turn the smoothing down and the brush size up a bit. I'm just going to fill this area in. So just think of this as the main fill of the brush. Suppose you could add a bit of texture here if you want, while leaving some of the background out, or you don't want to go out the lines. A thing I like to do is press X, and that will flip from black to white, which basically acts like an eraser. So the mask, when it's got black in it, it doesn't allow any of the colour through on the main layer, and when it's white it does. So that's that. Now I want to do another solid, solid colour fill layer, and then change this to pure green, so 02550. Okay, click on the mask, Control I to make it black so nothing happens, and then I want to like, I could clip this to that, right? So I'll do that. So I'll do the clipping mask, which means it's only going to draw if there's pixels in the layer below it, and I want to change it to add, so that this colour gets added to the green. You'll see why later. It's not going to replace it the way this blue one is. You see there's just blue there, there's just red there, whereas if I add it to the green, it's going to retain that red. Okay, so I'm adding it to the one below. I'm just going to paint in some, I'm not painting yellow, I'm actually painting white. Now if you want to see what the mask looks like, Alt click on it, and that's what I'm painting. So I'm painting grayscale. Right, so I can still use opacity. If I press 5, I can get half opacity, like that. And I can even still use like this smudging tool and things, but I just like to sort of build up with opacity, and press 3 to go a bit less, press 5, a bit more, and you know, just carry on making it look pretty decent. I want to just have it a little bit dark, so I'm going to press 2 for a bit of, just a bit of opacity, and just want to darken some of this part here. I'm just looking at this little preview window here as well, just to see how it kind of looks at smaller size. It's easier for your eye to read the whole shape then. It's a good idea if you're doing a big image to have a kind of, if you're zoomed in, to have a kind of overview of everything, so you can see what's really happening in the whole scene. So Same goes for little shapes like this. And I can also make that quite small. I'm going to paint in black and just continue these veins a little bit more. So I've got the outline color, plus I've got this secondary color. So you can see I've got access to like 3 colors here. The outline, which is declared by the blue channel, the red channel does this shape, and the green channel does this, but the red and green are added together, so I can easily take one away. And you'll see what that looks like in a second. I want to do a bit more work on this. I want to add some little cross-hatching type effect here or something like that, just to stylize it up a bit. Right, so that's now my leaf. I can take away the backdrop completely, or whatever. But another thing I can also do actually is to add another fill layer. One more fill layer, so I'll just do a solid color in black, and I do have access to black. That actually makes things transparent. If I invert that, and then I'll just I'll clip it to the blue, so I'll create a clipping mask. So this lets me do something with this line, lets me darken it a bit or give it another color. So you'll see all this working in a little moment. So let me just undo that and press 4 for a bit of opacity, and maybe press 2 for a bit less. And I'm just darkening that line. You can see it's not going to affect any of this stuff because it's been clipped to this. So it's only if there's pixels in the next layer. Right, so there's a little bit of info about clipping masks and stuff as well. So that's all done. I'm just going to put all this into a folder, right, and just go through what I did. So this layer here is adding to that. If that was on normal, it's basically green is going to replace all of that that red tone, and it's not going to look very nice. You can see that's the way the red tones. But if this is on add, it actually retains that red fill that you can see inside there. So it makes sense for that to be added, and we can change these colors in the backdrop design tool. So I'm just gonna so I've grouped all that. I'm just gonna now drag it to copy it, and then merge the group, turn that one off, and I can do export as PNG or export as will crop it up for me. I'm not sure if export PNG does the same, but this one crops it up. It's quite nice. So I'll export all. Let's put it on the desktop where all my mess goes, and I'll call this leaf 2. Right, it doesn't look like pixel art yet, but when we go into Backdrop Designer, we can make it look like pixel art. I'm just going to do Control Backspace to clear all this plot data. So you can see what I loaded earlier was this little leaf. I do have the pixel shaders on, so I'm just going to turn them off for now, and I'll just leave that. So there's the leaf I made before. I've got flip X on, and I've got a bit of rotation and scale on. So there's the leaf I made before, and I just want to load in the new leaf. So leaf 2, and there's our new leaf, right? So what I did was basically clicked to get some colors. Nothing's going to happen until I bring this slider in. You can see it change up here. It's gradually changing all these tones. So black is becoming black. Anything that sees as blue is becoming this dark greeny blue color. Anything that sees that was red is going to become this green, and anything that sees that was green, and bear in mind green is actually what you're seeing as yellow here because it's green plus red, which makes yellow in primary color of light. So I've now got this second leaf, and the cool thing is because I've used the same system for each of these, both of these leaves just adopt the new colors quite nicely, right? So I'll do Control Backspace to clear the canvas. I'm going to bracket to change the size. Now you can also change the size by holding space bar down, and you can change the rotation with this. So you let go of space and you can start plotting again, and choose a little leaf here. Press X to flip it horizontally, and let's do another one of these. Scale it down a bit for a bit of variation, tilt it up, and let's do another one of these ones. Let's scale it up a bit more, put that over there. So that's now going to be our little clump, right? But I want to do a little stem as well, so I'm going to go back to excuse me, I'm going to go back to some of these. Yeah, this one's good, and I'm just going to Alt and right click so that all the colors become that one. Scale it down, flip it that way. Let's press Y to flip it vertically, and I just want to kind of meld into that shape a bit, and then let's just put a little bit there as well. So we got this little stem. Cool. So now this is a little grab tool down here. This is the grabber. So as soon as you use that, you can grab all this information and call it something like a leaf bunch 2, right? Because I think I already used that name. It stores it here. So you see there's the first bunch that I made from the first leaf, and here's another little one. So now what I can do is scale that down and click and press X to flip it that way, Shift and R to fine tune rotate it a bit, X to flip it that way, just rotate it. Let's just actually overlap like that, and you can see we can build up our own little kind of sprite here. And you could like grab that again, and you know, grab it and use it for different things. So all these are stored, and you can use them in your game or whatever. So what we want to do is turn this into pixel art. So all I have to do is just bring this slider to the right. You get the Commodore. You get this sort of extended Commodore that I made up. You get the Sega Master System. This is a made up one, which I quite like, with a limited palette of 48 colours. Same deal, but with 256 colour choices. And these are the same, these two, but they've got double resolution. So I quite like this one. And you can change things like the pixel blend modes to get a little bit of, see the highlights come through better with that one. You can change the dither range, you can change the dither pattern. I like the little checker one, it's just, it feels kind of Stardew Valley like and really nice. So that's it done. The pixel shaders are in. You can start just plopping even more of these down, and if you want even more control, click on let's just do control backspace first, right? And I'll make this bigger. In fact, if I change this slider back to the top, it'll give me the actual size. I just want to plop that down and then plop this one down and click auto update. I want to see what happens if I make some changes. See, I'm adding a tiny bit of blur to that, and I can also add some cutout. So it's making it thicker, right? It's making it a bit thicker. I can bring in these tones as well. You see they're all the same, so it's all just going to become like a silhouette. But if I click those colours there, or these here, or those, I can totally change the colours. I can go somewhere between as well, right? And then make this really unique looking sprite. And flip it that way. I can even rotate it like that. You can see the pixels are all staying square, they're not being upset by all this. And the cool thing is I can jump back to my leaf itself and get it to, oops, okay, I've still got the auto update. Just make sure you turn that off. If I press tab, it will sample colours underneath, and I can actually bring those in, and I think that one wants to be that colour, that one wants to be a bit brighter. I can also like just alt click, right? So that one's this one's actually the kind of bluey tone there. That one's the little highlights. I just adjust that up a bit till it looks good. Let's just scale it down and bring it in. So if I just bring that in and put it down somewhere like that and do auto update, I can adjust it to kind of color match. I'll alt pick, see if I can get something close. Should be that one. It's a little bit yellow going there. This one's a bit of a darker bluey green. It's a bit too yellowish. It's a bit more washed out as well. And that's definitely not a blue colour. Increase the blur. That looks about right. So I'll just turn off auto update. Now I've got that leaf where I can fill in some gaps, fix the top, and put another one up here, scale it down a wee bit, like that. And that's you got your very own little setup. So let's say I wanted to grab that. This plant here is in the way, so I'm going to undo to the point where I put this down, right, and just go one step before it. So Control Shift C, and then press delete, and then Control Shift C to get it back. Right, and I've got this. Now the grabber doesn't actually grab the shader as well. In order to grab the shader as well, you'll have to basically save it. So if I do Control S and go to my desktop, and let's call this temp. Right, it should have saved that. Right, so it's saved it. Let's just turn that blurriness off and all this off. So there we go, there it's there. Now turn this shaders off. You can see if I turn the texture filter off and change the scale to I'll just change it to the maximum there. There we go. I've got the drawn one and the pixel one. So the only thing I have to do now to use this in the game is just jump back into Photoshop, and I think one day I'll integrate this kind of effect into backdrop design tool, so you can just export these with a transparency. But all you want to do is just go into Photoshop, crop it up. I've got shortcut keys, by the way, that was just a trim or a crop. And what I want to do is magic wand, turn off anti-aliasing, put the tolerance down a good wee bit, and just click that, press delete, and there you go, you've got this pixel image you can use. Now bear in mind, these pixels are actually double the size of a normal pixel, right? So if you do want this to be the right size, again, just make sure you go to image, size, and you want to change that to percent and go 50%, just so we get back to the normal size, and turn this to nearest neighbor, right? And that way we're going to get the exact pixel size. So you can make little adjustments here as well if you wanted, you know, you can tidy it up and things, but it's a good way to get started in making any sort of pixel art. You can put this in your game and, you know, things like that. The other things you can do is add little flowers to it. So let's just go back to our pixel mode here. I want to show you some other cool stuff you can do with the very same prop. So you can see it's all kind of original colors here. That's what this slider means, original color and new color. I just want to click this one. I'm just going to bring this up a little bit more to make it a bit more vibrant and scale it down. So the pixel shaders only work on what you see in the screen until you save the image. But a cool little thing I can do here is make a little kind of flower shape, and there's loads of brushes in here, not limited to just the ones that you import. You can find anything at all. Just looking for a little shape I want to use. Let's use that one that way. I can see what colors I want to change, so I can actually plot it down first, then do auto update to see the changes and try out some colors. Just click on these to see what I get, and I want this one to be kind of dark, and then these ones to be kind of lighter, and then I kind of like a bit like that. So there we go. I want to change that more reddish, it's too brown, and maybe that a bit lighter as well. Yeah, okay, so that's done. Just turn off the auto update and grab that. It actually grabs it at full resolution without the pixel shader, so let's call this little flower. And as you can see, if I turn that back, you can see it's just actual resolution, and I put that back to the pixel mode, scale it down, and I can put little flowers in this here, like that. Or I could keep it separate and do this later, you know, randomly generate some flowers on this. But yeah, stuff like that. So I can actually undo, start deleting those and redo, right? So I've deleted them from existence. There's a kind of history. And what I can also do is undo these and go to a different layer and do Control-Alt-Z. That's also redo in layer. If I click redo in layer, they're now going to be in layer 13, and that's handy because I want to do a little shadow in layer 12. So I'm just going to take, I'm going to just make this one black and Alt and right click, and they'll all change, right? They'll all change to a dark tone, and bring in new color. Press 5 for half opacity, and now I can do some little shadowy bits. Right, don't need them everywhere, just kind of where it makes sense. Scale that down a wee bit there. Right, I can do the same for the leaves as well. If I was clever, maybe I could grab one of the leaf, I'll do this one, leaf shapes there, and as long as I go just small enough to match that shape, now it looks like a little drop shadow, right? I'm just gonna brush in some fake shadows here, just to make it look like these leaves are in front and hanging over a bit. See how that already makes this pop a bit more? Put a wee one just there like that, and that's pretty much it. So happy with that. You can save it out again and just rip the background color out, or you can actually go back to normal mode, press I to turn the background off, even though that doesn't really matter because as soon as you grab it takes that away. But if you wanted to save it in a higher resolution, you can click on like 3x HD and then save it. Right, and then I'll put that on my desktop where I put all my junk, and I'll call this 3x HD prop, right? And that will now save that. If I jump into Photoshop now, I've got the opposite. I've got a high resolution asset, really high resolution asset. So if I crop this one up, I look at the image size, it's actually, let's change that back to pixels, it's 2200 by 3200 roughly. So it's really high res. So I can come in here and do even more stuff. A cool thing that you can do in Photoshop is the stylized oil paint filter, and that would clean up some edges and things. So the higher you set that, the more dramatic it's going to be. But I'll put that quite high. It's just these two that matter. You can add like things like lighting and scale and do other things like that just for fun. And click that, and you'll get a kind of stylized look to this. And then you could scale that down. Make sure if you're scaling it down with some, you want softness, just make sure that's on bilinear. If you want to keep pixels, it's nearest neighbor, right? So just scale that down, and that will give us a nicer edge as well. That will just give us a nice finish. And there you go. And what you can also do is Control L and do any sort of final level adjusting you want to do to that to brighten it up a bit. And another thing I like to do actually is to duplicate the layer and level adjust that one, the new one, right? So you get all this bright stuff, and then add a mask to it, right? So it's letting it all through when it's white, but if I do Control I, and none of it's getting through until I paint white in there, and I can paint, because I paint white in there, I'm actually painting little kind of highlights here and there just to brighten some bits up. Right, and that just helps it pop even more, so it keeps all the same shape. It's not the same as me brushing over it with a different brush and I lose all that nice texture. All I'm doing is just allowing a brighter copy through, over the top of it. Right, and that's a really nice way to get stylized artwork. So imagine you did your whole art pipeline this way, you get some really nice stylized stuff. That's it for this video. I hope you enjoy using the tool, and I hope you enjoy using Backdrop Designer. It makes scrollable, tileable, horizontally tileable backgrounds as well as props. It's got pixel shaders, but as you can see, they're kind of they need a little bit of kind of getting used to. If you want any help with this, just get in touch. There's a Discord channel as well. I'll put a link in the description to Discord. I'd love for you to join in, and there's even a demo floating about that's for free. Otherwise, it's only about $5, and it would really help me out in developing this, and I'm looking forward to making even more improvements to it. Thanks for watching. Bye.